because I've washed my hair and can't do a thing. I haven't done a thing with it. Let's just put it that way. Okay, Tilly. We back to Tilly. No, Tessa. Tilly was earlier. Right? Right? Yeah. Tomo divided the money fairly, and she felt rich with her share. This is the last thing I read. The other days were very much like this. Sometimes they made more, sometimes less, but Tomo always went halves. And Tessa kept on in spite of cold and weariness, for her plans grew as her earnings increased, and now she hoped to get useful things instead of candy and toys alone. On the day before Christmas, she made herself as tidy as she could, for she hoped to earn a good deal. She tied a bright scarlet handkerchief over the old hood, and the brilliant color set off her brown cheeks and bright eyes, as well as the pretty black braids of her hair. Tomo's mother lent her a pair of boots so big that they turned up at the toes, but there were no holes in them, and Tessa felt quite elegant in whole, W-H-O-L-E, boots. Her hands were covered with chilblains. Let's look up what that is. I guess it's something like gloves, but not. I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at this. We've had it before, I think. Chilblains. And it says, oh shoot, it went away. Daggone it. Here we go, there we go, there we go. Oh. No, they are painful itching, swelling on the skin, typically on a hand or foot, caused by poor circulation in the skin when exposed to cold.
Bonjour.
Oh, that's the French. I want English. Okay. Let's try it again.
Chilblains.
Chilblains. And again, this is also known as Pernlow, medical condition in which damage occurs to capillary beds in the skin, most often hands or feet, when blood perfuses into the nearby tissue, resulting in redness, itching, inflammation, possibly blisters. And it talks about, being exposed to cold and humidity. Chilblains. For she had no mittens, but when she put them under her shawl and scuffled merrily away in her big boots, feeling so glad that the week was over, and nearly $3 safe in her pocket. How gay the streets were that day. How brisk everyone was, and how bright the faces looked as people trotted about with big baskets, holly wreaths, and young evergreens going to blossom into splendid Christmas trees. If I could have a tree for the children, I'd never want anything again, but I can't. So I'll fill the socks all full and be happy, said Tessa, as she looked wistfully into the gay stores and saw the heavy baskets go by. Who knows what may happen if we do well, returned Tomo, nodding wisely, for he had a plan as well as Tessa, and kept chuckling over it as he trudged through the mud. They did not do well, somehow, for everyone seemed so full of their own affairs they could not stop to listen even to Bella Monica, but bustled away to spend their money in turkeys, toys, and trees. In the afternoon it began to rain, and poor Tessa's heart to fail her, for the big boots tired her feet. The cold wind made her hands ache, and the rain spoilt the fine red handkerchief. Even Tomo looked sober and didn't whistle as he walked, for he also was disappointed and his plan looked rather doubtful. The pennies came in so slowly. "We'll try one more street and then go home. Thou art so tired, little one. Come, let me wipe thy face, and give me thy hand here in my jacket pocket. There it will be as warm as any kitten." And kind Tomo brushed away the drops, which were not all rain, from Tessa's cheeks, tucked the poor hand into his ragged pocket, and led her carefully along the slippery street, for the boots nearly tripped her up. Chapter 2. At the first house, a cross old gentleman flapped his newspaper at them. At the second, a young gentleman and lady were so busy talking they never turned their heads. And at the third, a servant came out and told them to go away because someone was sick. At the fourth, some people let them sing all their songs, but gave nothing. The next 3 houses were empty, and the last of all showed not a single face as they looked up anxiously. It was so cold, so dark and discouraging that Tessa couldn't help one sob, and as he glanced down at the little red nose and wet figure beside him, Tomo gave his harp an angry thump and said something very fierce in Italian. They were just going to turn away, but they didn't, for that angry thump happened to be the best thing they could have done. All of a sudden, a little head appeared at the window as if the sound had brought it, then another, and another, till there were 5 of all heights and colors, and 5 eager faces peeped out, smiling and nodding to the 2 below. "Sing, Tessa, sing, quick, quick!" cried Tomo, twanging away with all his might and showing his white teeth as he smiled back at the little gentlefolk. Bless us, how Tessa did tune up at that! She chirped away like a real bird, forgetting all about the tears on her cheeks, the ache in her hands, and the heaviness at her heart. The children laughed, "Ah!" and clapped their hands and cried, "More, more! Sing another, little girl, please do!" And away they went again, piping and playing till Tessa's breath was gone and Tomo's stout fingers tingled well. Mama says come to the door. It's too muddy to throw the money into the street," cried out a kindly child's voice as Tessa held up the old cap with beseeching eyes. Up the wide stone steps went the street musicians, and the whole flock came running down to give a handful of silver and ask all sorts of questions. Tessa felt so grateful that without waiting for Tomo, she sang her sweetest little song all alone. It was about a lost lamb, and her heart was in the song. Therefore she sang it well, so well, that a pretty young lady came down to listen, and stood watching the bright-eyed child who looked about her as she sang, evidently enjoying the light and warmth of the fine hall and the sight of the lovely children with their gay dresses, shining hair, and dainty little shoes. "You have a charming voice, child. Who taught you to sing?" asked the young lady kindly. "My mother. She's dead now, but I do not forget," answered Tessa in her pretty broken English. "I wish she could sing at our tree, since Bella is ill," cried one of the children, peeping through the banisters. "She's not fair enough for the angel and too large to go up in the tree, but she sings sweetly and looks as if she would like to see a tree," said the young lady. "Oh, so much!" exclaimed Tessa, adding eagerly, "My sister Ranza is small and pretty as a baby angel. She could sit up in the fine tree, and I could sing for her from under the table." "Sit down and warm yourself and tell me about Ranza," said the kind elder sister, who liked the confiding little girl in spite of her shabby clothes. So Tessa sat down and dried the big boots over the furnace and told her story, while Tomo stood modestly in the background, and the children listened with faces full of interest. "Oh, Rose, let us see the little girl, and if she will do, let us have her. And Tessa can learn our song, and it will be splendid," cried the biggest boy, who sat astride of a chair and stared at the harp with round eyes. "I'll ask Mamma," said Rose, and away she went into the dining room close by. As the door opened, Tessa saw what looked to her like a fairy feast. All silver mugs and flowery plates and oranges and nuts and rosy wine and tall glass pitchers and smoking dishes that smelt so deliciously she could not restrain a little sniff of satisfaction. "Are you hungry?" asked the boy in a grand tone. "Yes, sir," meekly answered Tessa. "I say, Mamma, she wants something to eat. Can I give her an orange?" called the boy, prancing away into the splendid room, quite like a fairy prince, Tessa thought. A plump, motherly lady came out and looked at Tessa, asked a few questions, and then told her to come tomorrow with Ranza. They would like to see what could be done. Tessa clapped her hands for joy. She didn't mind the chilblains now. And Tomo played a lively march. He was so pleased. "Will you come too and bring your harp? You shall be paid, and shall have something from the tree likewise," said the motherly lady, who liked what Tessa gratefully told about his kindness to her. "Ah, yes, I shall come with much gladness and play as never in my life before," cried Tomo, with a flourish of the old cap that made the children laugh. "Give these to your brothers," said the fairy prince, stuffing nuts and oranges into Tessa's hands. "And these to the little girl," added one of the young princesses, flying out of the dining room with cakes and rosy apples for Ranza. Tessa didn't know what to say, but her eyes were full, and she just took the mother's white hand in both her little grimy ones and kissed it many times, in her pretty Italian fashion. The lady understood her and stroked her cheek softly, saying to her elder daughter, "We must take care of this good little creature. Freddie, bring me your mittens. These poor hands must be covered. Alice, get your play hood. This handkerchief is all wet. And Maud, bring the old chinchilla tippet." The children ran, and in a minute there were lovely blue mittens on the red hands, a warm hood over the black braids, and a soft pussy round the sore throat. "Ah, so kind, so very kind. I have no way to say thank you. But Ranza shall be for you a heavenly angel, and I will sing my heart out for your tree," cried Tessa, folding the mittens as if she would say a prayer of thankfulness if she knew how. Then they went away, and the pretty children called after them, "Come again, Tessa, come again, Tomo." Now the rain didn't seem dismal, the wind cold, nor the way long, as they bought their gifts. I guess what they're singing and playing. And hurried home, for kind words and the sweet magic of charity had changed all the world to them. I think the good spirits who fly about on Christmas Eve to help the loving fillers of little stockings smiled very kindly on Tessa as she brooded joyfully over the small store of presents that seemed so magnificent to her. All the goodies were divided evenly into 3 parts and stowed away in Father's 3 big socks, which hung against the curtain. With $3 she had got a pair of shoes for Nono, a knit cap for Sep, and a pair of white stockings for Ranza. To her she also gave the new hood, to Nono the mittens, and to Sep the tippet. "Now the dear boys can go out, and my Ranza will be ready for the lady to see in her nice new things," said Tessa, quite sighing with pleasure to see how well the gifts looked pinned up beside the bulging socks, which wouldn't hold them all. The little mother kept nothing for herself but the pleasure of giving everything away, yet I think she was both richer and happier than if she had kept them all. Her father laughed as he had not done since the mother died, when he saw how comically the old curtain had broken out into boots and stockings. No, boots and hoods, stockings and tippets. I wish I had a gold gown and a silver hat for thee, my Tessa. Thou art so good. May the saints bless and keep thee always, said Peter Bennery tenderly as he held his little daughter close and gave her a good-night kiss. Tessa felt very rich as she crept under the faded counterpane. Mom used to call them counterpins. Bedspread. This is counterpane. His hair. Feeling as if she had received a lovely gift, and fell happily asleep with chubby Ranza in her arms and the two rough black heads peeping out at the foot of the bed. She dreamed wonderful dreams that night, woke in the morning to find real wonders before her eyes. She got up early to see if the socks were all right, and there she found the most astonishing sight. 4 socks instead of 3, and by the 4th, pinned out quite elegantly, was a little dress, evidently meant for her, a warm woolen dress, all made and actually with bright buttons on it. It nearly took her breath away. So did the new boots on the floor and the funny-looking stocking, like a gray sausage with a wooden doll staring out at the top, as if she said politely, "A Merry Christmas, ma'am." Tessa screamed and danced in her delight, and up tumbled all the children to scream and dance with her, making a regular carnival on a small scale. Everybody hugged and kissed everybody else, offered sucks of oranges, bites of cake, and exchanges of candy. Everyone tried on the new things and pranced about in them like a flock of peacocks. Ranza skipped to and fro airily, dressed in her white socks and the red hood. The boys promenaded in their little shirts, one with his creaking new shoes and mittens, the other in his gay cap and fine tippet, and Tessa put her dress straight on, feeling that her father's gold gown was not all a joke. In her long stocking she found all sorts of treasures, for Tomo had stuffed it full of queer things. So this is Tomo's doing. And his mother had made gingerbread into every imaginable shape, from fat pigs to full omnibuses. Dear me, what happy little souls they were that morning, and when they were quiet again, how like a fairy tale did Tessa's story sound to them. Ranza was quite ready to be an angel, and the boys promised to be marvelously good if they were only allowed to see the tree at the palace, as they called the big house. Little Ranza was accepted with delight by the kind lady and her children, and Tessa learned the song quite easily. The boys were asked, and after a happy day, the young Italians all returned to play their parts at the fine Christmas party. Mama and Miss Rose drilled them all, and when the folding doors flew open, one rapturous "Oh" arose from the crowd of children gathered at the festival. I assure you, it was splendid. The great tree glittering with lights and gifts, and on her invisible perch, up among the green boughs, sat the little golden-haired angel, all in white, with downy wings, a shining crown on her head, and the most serene satisfaction in her blue eyes as she stretched her chubby arms to those below and smiled her baby smile at them. Before anyone could speak, a voice as fresh and sweet as a lark's sang the Christmas carol so blithely that everyone stood still to hear, and then clapped till the little angel shook on her perch and cried out, "Be till, or me'll fall." How they laughed at that, and what fun they had talking to Ranza while Miss Rose stripped the tree, for the angel could not resist temptation and amused herself by eating all the bonbons she could reach. till she was taken down to dance about like a fairy in a white frock and red shoes. Tessa and her friends had many presents. The boys were perfect lambs. Tomo played for the little folks to dance, and everyone said something friendly to the strangers, so that they did not feel shy in spite of shabby clothes. It was a happy night, and all their lives they remembered it as something too beautiful and bright to be quite true. Before they went home, the kind mama told Tessa she should be her friend, and gave her a motherly kiss which warmed the child's heart and seemed to set a seal upon that promise. It was faithfully kept, for the rich lady had been touched by Tessa's patient struggles and sacrifices, and for many years, thanks to her benevolence, there was no end to Tessa's surprises. Another sweet story. And the next one we'll read, same author, Louisa May Alcott, published 3 years later, 1874, is called Kate's Choice. Sweet stories. I hope y'all are enjoying them. Merry Christmas. I want it to slow down. Slow down. Don't get here yet. Love y'all. Be sweet. Don't be ugly. Santa's watching.